as we were talking about earlier, I feel home when I'm in a new place. I feel home when I'm experiencing new things, and that constant change, that's what feels like home to me now. So it's definitely travel has altered how I just in general perceive the world and my place in it.
Welcome to the Budget Minded Traveler Podcast, your source for the tips and tactics that will inspire and equip you to travel the world. And the best part, it won't break your bank. And now, the Budget Minded Traveler herself and your host, Jackie LaLannon.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 50 of the Budget Minded Traveler Podcast. We made it to 50. Woo! And today actually also starts our first season, what I'm calling seasons. I should probably call them series of the podcast. This one is going to be about long-term travel. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to have some carefully selected long-term, perpetual, constant travelers in some form or another come on the show to basically share their expertise about packing, preparation, things they have to think about, things that have changed them, what they've learned, advice, all sorts of things having to do with long-term travel. So we have that to look forward to for the next 4 weeks. And today we're actually starting with a girl I met in Boston at a travel conference. And then I saw her again a couple of months later in Spain at another travel conference. And she's just toting around this little backpack. You're going to hear us talking about this in the episode. And she just kind of fascinated me because I knew she was a long-term traveler. So we all get to know a little bit more about Adrienne Ann today. That's who we're interviewing. She's 29. She's originally from Seattle. She actually has been traveling continuously for about the last couple of 2 years. And she also has her own website called Adrienne's Travel Tales. I'm going to put a link to that on the show notes page. And so here we go with Adrienne, our first episode in the long-term travel series. We're so grateful to Osprey Packs for partnering with us and supporting the podcast, so please stay tuned for more about them later on. I have an opportunity for you to join me in real life for some real travel. Here's the latest Jump Adventures update. We are going to Greece for a bike and boat island hopping adventure this May 9th to 16th, 2025, and we still have space left. Check out jumpadventures.com to learn more and book now. We're going to have a yacht all to ourselves with ensuite cabins on board, so you get to sleep in the same bed every night as we start in Athens and make our way west toward the island of Corfu. You'll have your own bike for the week, e-bike if you want one, for cycling the islands as we go, in between meals crafted by our private chef on board, and all the relaxing you want to do on the top deck under the Mediterranean sun. These bike and boat adventures are our most carefree and relaxed trips. All you have to do is say yes and show up, and there's still space. Head over to jumpadventures.com to grab your spot now, and we'll see you there. All right, I've got Adrienne Ann on the line. Hey, Adrienne, how's it going?
It's pretty great, Jackie. How are you doing?
I'm good. A good question to ask you to start out. Where in the world are you right now?
Funny enough, I'm actually home, surprisingly.
Sometimes that happens.
It's nice, though. I am from a little small mountain town south of Seattle called Eatonville, so I'm actually sitting in my parents' bedroom hanging out with the dog, so it's great.
I get that. I think we've all been there. Time to go home for a little bit. How long have you been home?
Just about a month. So I was traveling around in Europe for a while, and I went to TBEX, and then I came home and I graduated, and I've been hanging out here for about a month so far.
Awesome. Congrats on graduating.
Thank you.
Okay, so cool. I have sort of introduced you a little bit to the audience already, but why don't you maybe just give us an idea of who you are, where you come from, and then we'll get into talking travel.
All right, I can do that. Well, I, for the most part, am originally from Seattle/Washington area, and I have kind of dabbled in a lot of different careers, from being a recruiter to in sales to I was actually a professional ballroom dancer and teacher for a while. And I've always had the travel bug, and I decided just over 2 years ago to get out there and start traveling. First started teaching English and then decided I wanted to do my own thing, which is why I eventually started my travel blog. But I've been traveling for just over 2 years. Okay. And always coming home back to Seattle-ish area, but loving getting out there in the world and exploring what there is to see.
Yeah. So do you mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 29.
29. Oh, we're almost the same age. I've got a year on you, but so you being from Seattle and going through the whole multi-job thing, I think so many of us can relate to that. I mean, don't even ask me how many jobs I've held, but especially as a traveler, because you end up taking jobs and then leaving jobs and then going in and out of jobs all the time. So what was it that kind of made you want to see the world? Was there something, was it just being fed up with work, or was there something in your past that really kind of instilled the wanderlust in you?
Well, it all started actually when I was kind of more of a kid. My mom used to work for the airlines, and so we got to fly for free.
Gosh, you are so lucky.
Yeah, it was actually I didn't realize how lucky I was at the time, because I thought, everyone could fly standby and we could, go to Denver every weekend if we wanted to visit family. And so it was more family based that I was traveling, but it was a really, really great time. And then because of the airline connection, my mom and dad actually got to go to, they went to Russia one time and Costa Rica another time. And they left me at home.
How dare they?
How dare they? So I kind of got back at them. And when I was 16, I spent a year abroad in Australia. But then it took another 10 years for me to figure out my life enough to be able to get traveling again. So I guess to answer your question, there was definitely that early life, being able to domestically travel and then internationally when I was an exchange student. But it was constantly seeing everybody else doing all these great trips and me not doing it, to finally say, all right, I'm going to make this happen, and kind of gave up everything to move to Asia.
Mm-hmm. And that was what you did 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So because you said you studied abroad in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I love how you said it took you 10 years to figure out like that was basically what you were supposed to be doing or something like that. What did that look like? Was it just seeing other people travel, or what was happening in you that made that happen?
It was unrest within myself. It was, I'd see people traveling internationally, and I would try and take a trip a year, but it was all domestically to Puerto Rico, to, I guess, Mexico is considered international, and just these little things to whet my wanderlust, but not actually get me out into the world. And like we talked about, I was switching from job to job every year and a half to 2 years because I just wasn't. It's not that I wasn't happy, it's that it wasn't right. I had a great life. It wasn't like my life was awful. I loved where I was living in Seattle. I loved my friend group. I have a great family network here, but it just didn't feel right. Mm-hmm. And I had on and off talked about teaching English for years, ever since I graduated college, and everything in my life just kind of magically, of course, lined up where my lease was coming up. I was in a point in my job that it was either kind of, go up or get out.
Yeah.
And my family situation was in a stable enough place where, I could leave my parents without them, missing me as much. So everything just magically lined up. And so it was only about a month and a half between when I realized everything was lining up to when I actually left. So it was very quick transition.
That's really quick.
Yeah.
And actually let's talk about that, that month and a half. But first I have to say, I totally get it. I really do. I mean, it's like something maybe just kind of sitting inside you and just welling up almost slowly until it suddenly just boils over and you just say, you know what, I have to go. This is what I'm doing. This is where the stars are aligning. And I just find that fascinating, especially right now, because I'm about to be doing the same thing. And so this is why I was so interested in chatting long-term travel actually during this little series on my podcast, because I'm about to be doing the same thing for the first time in a while. And it already feels so refreshing to me to kind of go back to something that I feel like I'm meant to do, called to do.
Like home. It definitely feels like home, as weird as that sounds, when I'm sure you have the same feeling when you're out there and it's not just a week or 2 weeks, but it is, right. It is the right thing for, if it's for you, it's the right thing to be doing.
Exactly. I've said for a long time, home is where the toothbrush is.
Home is where my shoes are, so I get that.
Okay, yeah. It's the same, because it can change every night. We know this so well. But yeah, I feel so at home when I'm traveling. And I think that is such a common thing between people who are long-term travelers. You have to have that. It doesn't really work if you're not almost more comfortable on the road than you are in a house with four walls,
Exactly. And it's not for everyone.
No.
Very, very true. But for those people who it is within their soul and it's what they're supposed to do, it's the most liberating feeling ever.
I cannot agree more. I really can't. And the whole purpose of this little series that I'm doing on long-term travel for this, for my podcast is basically I want to give people a glimpse into what that life is. People who maybe are considering it or haven't done it before. And I think we pretty much just described what the makeup is, what you kind of have to put it in place. And I'm sure there are so many people out there who are saying, that's me. I can relate. It's my turn. It's going to happen, So let's talk about your month and a half preparation, because that's actually a really short amount of time. But this is great because sometimes that's exactly how it happens. I was actually talking. Do you know Erin Bender?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was talking with Erin. This is, I don't know what episode this was, something in the 20s or 30, I can't remember now. But yeah, their entire family up and left. They had a house, 2 cars, like everything. And within 6 months, I think it was, they were gone, that is so fast to get an entire, you're one person. This is like 4 people,
Oh my gosh.
And sometimes it happens so quickly like that. And how helpful would it be to know what to do when you get to that point? If there are people out there listening who are saying, well, you know what? My lease is coming up soon and I'm not that happy in my job. If things are kind of aligning, let's talk about the things that you kind of need to start thinking about if you're going to be going long term. So what started it for you, the planning, the preparation?
I think the biggest thing was money, trying to figure out how to finance everything. So I did not have a huge amount of savings. So my first step was to figure out how, not necessarily where to go, but what to do once I got somewhere. And for me, that was teaching English. So my first step was to start that process to have some sort of job lined up for wherever I decided to go. So it was just a lot of researching that and then figuring out exactly what my finances were. So I had some 401ks that I cashed out. And
nice.
Yeah, I know. So
who needs those?
But that was the first thing, was just figuring out, okay, if I'm going to make this, I don't want it to be a quick 1 month and then I'm, screwed because I don't have money. I wanted to make sure that it could be long term. So for me, that was a job. So I set up a job. And then the next piece after that was figuring out what was keeping me here. What were the things tying me down? So that was my car payments, my lease, my apartment, and then physically my things. What were I going to do with my things? So I kind of made a list of those things that were physically tying me to this spot, and then I started getting rid of them all. So for me, that meant donating 95% of what I owned, which was a lot. And it was a little bit heartbreaking, but it was also, again, very liberating. The lease, that just meant me not signing another lease. And for my car, for the first probably 8 or 9 months, I was actually making payments on my car while I was abroad, which was a little tricky. But then I eventually sold my car. So
okay,
that was the first 2 steps, was figuring out, how to make money, and then figuring out and letting go of everything that was tying me down here.
Right. So let's go back to step one, because I know that you say, okay, I found a job. There's so much behind that simple sentence. And I know you did a lot of research, and I know that there are still issues even once you get overseas, making sure everything works out. So where did you start that search?
Good old Google.
Awesome. What did you type into Google?
I typed teaching English abroad. And
wow, that's really broad. You didn't even have a country in mind?
Nope, not really.
Okay, cool. Go with it.
Not really. So, yeah, I started with that. And then the one thing I was looking at is I wanted programs that were almost kind of held your hand in the beginning, because I knew that I would be moving to a place that didn't speak English. That was my other requirement. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And I wanted some place that would have some sort of support. So I started looking through the multitude of programs that have a teaching English certificate in addition to helping you get a job.
Okay, like a TEFL thing?
Yeah, exactly, like a TEFL. And so I decided that I wanted to do my TEFL in country or as close to country as possible so that I could get as much experience before I actually started teaching.
Perfect.
So I kind of narrowed it down by continent, and I went and looked, okay, what's the typical pay for the different locations? You know, what are the different requirements? There are some countries that require you to sign a 2-year contract, and there are some countries that don't require you to sign any sort of contract. So I was just looking at a lot of the different variables, trying to figure out what worked for me and the timeline and what I also felt comfortable with.
Okay. And so what program did you end up going with?
I went with a program, it's called Language Core. They're actually based in the U.S., but they have an Asian branch, and the certificate was actually the program was located in Cambodia, and then I worked and found a job in Taiwan. So.
Okay. And they helped you?
They helped me every step of the way. It was really great. They
great.
Got me on board. They helped me secure all the right visas. They helped me get in contact with the recruiter in Taiwan. They helped me with my accommodation. So that's part of the package when you're in Cambodia. I mean, they really were great and supportive, which was the key piece of what I was looking for. You know, I was giving up everything in my life, and I wanted to make sure that I just wasn't jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. So.
Right. And so how much did this program cost you? How long was it?
The program was $2,500, and it was a month long plus a year of travel insurance and support. So
support meaning the hand-holding thing?
Yeah.
Cool.
Basically,
okay.
Anytime I had questions for them, I could go back and ask. And actually, I still, every now and then, I have a random question about getting in contact with some locals in different countries around the world, and they're really good about putting me in contact with them. So even 2 years later, it's still paying off.
That's so great.
We'll come right back to that. Let's take a moment now to thank our wonderful show sponsors. Osprey is the market leader in technical outdoor, travel, and everyday packs. And I've personally used Osprey packs since 2015. My favorites are the Fairview Trek 50 for multi-day hikes, the Cirrus 24 for day hikes, the Transporter Rolling Duffel 60, which is my trusty check luggage for faraway adventures, and of course, the countless packing cubes I use to organize everything that goes in them. We are proud to support each other on the podcast and beyond. We love getting outside, and we want to see more people outdoors. So find out more and join us at osprey.com.
So you found a good program. That's such a bonus because I know a lot of them can be kind of sketchy.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, this one was 100% legit, but there was that back of the mind, like, is this really what it's supposed to be? Mm-hmm. And they really were great. And the $2,500 covered the whole program. So that was my TOEFL certificate, which is normally somewhere around $1,200 to $1,500 anyway. Mm-hmm. My month-long of accommodations in Cambodia, 2 different weekend trips in Cambodia. It also included the student teaching, which is a requirement of the certificate. So it was definitely a very comprehensive amount of information and perks that you got from the cost of the program.
Yeah, really good value, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in 2000, 2013?
Let's see. Yes, 2013.
Okay. So that's pretty recent. So it's probably somewhat similar still.
It is, yeah. Point. So their Asia program is a little bit more comprehensive than some other places in the world. It's been set up a lot longer, but they have stuff in Europe, in Northern Africa, in South America. I mean, they're definitely all over. So they have branches for people that are interested in most places that have English as a second language. A big community for that. They have locations.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to definitely put a link to that program on the show notes page for resources. So how long did it take you then to figure all this out and secure the job? I mean, I know you kind of worked pretty hard on it.
Yeah, I did. I had the job secured, I think, probably like 2 or 3 weeks before I left. So it was actually fairly quick.
Yeah, and then you had to buy a ticket, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a hit to the bank account.
It was. There are some really great resources out there that I know that I didn't know about, and I wish I would have. But even now that I'm thinking, I think it was only about $700 one way from Seattle to Cambodia. So for not knowing what I'm doing, that wasn't that bad.
You have the bonus of being in a big city as well.
Yes, very true.
$700 one way is definitely doable for Asia. That's pretty awesome. From Bozeman, Montana? Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you got the job squared away, and then how quickly did you start getting rid of all your stuff? And were you able to make any money off of that, or did you just kind of purge, just get rid of it and just get ready to go?
I just purged. As soon as I made the decision that I wanted to leave, I started sorting through everything. And, I think like most people, and especially women, and I was also, like I said, I used to be a ballroom dancer, so I had a bunch of gowns and costumes, and every person has 1.5 million shoes. And so going through that, in addition to also just moving out of my place, I would say that probably took me about 2 weeks to emotionally let go of everything and just donate it all. I didn't want to tie myself up with nickeling and diming everything, where I probably could have made quite a bit of money, but I didn't want to have to haggle with someone over something that I had an emotional attachment to. So I just decided, all right, let's taking it all to the Goodwill, and I'm, putting lots of good karma out there of, thousands of dollars of clothes and stuff, and hopefully one day it'll come back. Yeah,
totally. I mean, that also takes a lot of time, and it may not be worth it in the end, especially, I mean, once you make the decision to get rid of something, you just need to get rid of it sometimes, and just say goodbye, just let go, and move on.
Very true.
Even if it's just material things. I mean, we all most of us live in houses with things, and, you never know sometimes what those might mean. So good for you, because that's hard.
It is. And that's been just kind of fast forwarding a little bit. That's been the interesting thing being a long-term traveler, is not accumulating things, because I have a backpack. Right. So if I get something new, I have to get rid of something. So things and travel and accumulating them and materialism, it's a very interesting relationship when you're traveling long term.
So let's talk about your backpack. So we met in Boston, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I met Adrienne in Boston at a travel conference, and she's got this, it's like a school backpack, like quite literally on her back all the time. It's like attached to you. It's like your third, I don't know, fifth limb or something. And then I saw you 2 months later in, where were we? Spain? Yeah. And there you were with your backpack again. And I just cannot help but wonder, what did you end up bringing with you?
That's a great question. So I've got my 2 backpacks. I've got my big backpack, which is my Osprey backpacking bag that has mostly clothes and an emergency medical kit. And I can't travel without my tutu and a couple other costumes, which I know sounds ridiculous, but It's my thing. I don't know.
Awesome.
When I got rid of everything in the world, apparently I needed to keep a rainbow tutu and a pair of bunny ears.
It's funny the things that you end up keeping. It really is.
Yeah, those have been around the world a couple times, which is interesting. So that's my big bag, and then my little bag that you saw attached to me at all time is work. So that's my laptop, all of my electronics, my cell phones, cameras, everything that I need in order to be mobile on the road. So past that, there's not a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm. That's a heavy pack too, with all that stuff in it.
It's my life.
How big is your big backpack?
I believe it's 65 liters.
Do you think that's good?
It's a good size. It's definitely a good size. I have an expandable portion at the top where it can go another 10 liters.
Yeah.
But it gets kind of heavy if you do that much. So
no
65,
kidding,
yeah, 65 for me was fine. And if I didn't have to have my laptop, I wouldn't even need my front pack. I'd be able to kind of cram it all in, but I've got a big old honking old laptop that I can't part with yet, so.
Oh my gosh, you really should get a MacBook Air. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I know.
It's the most amazing thing for travel. You don't even know it's there. You can throw it in your purse. It's amazing.
I know. I've heard so many good things from all the different travelers and bloggers that I know, and it's like, all right, well, I'll add that to the list of expensive gadgets that I need to get.
I know. You know what I did, to be completely honest with you? I bought it in December because it was a tax write-off, and it worked brilliantly. I basically got a free computer because of that. So
I'll have to talk to you a little bit more about that
I
later.
know, maybe we should. I'm not going to edit that part out either. So
all right.
Word to the wise for those out there listening. But yeah, I have not looked back. I am in love with my little laptop. I mean, it's amazing. And I really highly recommend it to any of these digital nomads that, you know, like yourself, that we come across, because it's the only way to go with traveling. I can't believe that you carry around a brick with you.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. But I mean, one day I'll upgrade and I will come and see the light.
So let's talk a little bit more just about the packing, because that's a big subject for me. I call myself a ninja packer. I have like ninja packing lists and stuff like that on my blog. And I love to write about every time I travel, I post about my packing list, like what goes in it, everything.
Just how your most recent one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just did one yesterday. So one of the things that I swear by is, traveling with a carry-on. So your 65 does not fit, correct?
It depends on how much I fill it up. So I would say maybe 75% of the time I can get it as a carry-on. That's
amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. So my first pack that I ever traveled with, this is before I knew anything, was a 65 plus 10, similar to yours. It was also a medium, which I'm not. I'm like a size small, but I didn't even know what I was doing. And I didn't go to somewhere like REI where people knew what they were doing either. No one helped me. And I just was like, oh, this one's pretty. Let's take it. But one of the things that I learned very painfully about that pack was that it was so way too big for me. I mean, because it is a 65 plus 10. So what do you think I did?
You plussed it.
I plus 10'd it. Like, of course, I would pack it full, you know, and that's one of the things that I have learned is just that basically less is more. If you ever need something, you can just drop the money to buy, you know, whatever it is, and you'd be happy. Your shoulders will be happier with less weight. And so right now, my magic number is a 50, and I actually just got a brand new Osprey pack that's a 50. It's the frame is bigger than my other 50, and so I was a little worried about the overhead bin thing. But now that you said that your 65 fits, that kind of makes me feel a lot better. But I am just curious if you started out with any, I mean, you're going to Asia, so we kind of know that the climate in Asia is tropical where you were, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And didn't you see yourself going elsewhere besides that? I mean, did you pack for multiple climates? Because you're packing for, well, probably about a year or more than a year, right?
Yeah, about a year. So, dirty little secret. When I first started traveling, I didn't know that I was going to be traveling. I thought I was moving to Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Which it doesn't sound like a big distinction, but it actually is.
So different, right? Because in one, you're hauling stuff everywhere with you, and in two, you're sedentary.
Yes, exactly. So when I first left, I had a rolly carry-on, a big backpack, and my front pack, my normal school backpack.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 3 bags, and they were chock-a-block full.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly and painfully learned that carting all of that, especially around Asia, is extremely expensive. I think my flight from Cambodia to Taiwan was $200, and I ended up paying about $450 in baggage fees.
Oh my gosh! Was it was it AirAsia?
No, it was Tiger Air.
Oh, so it's just like Ryanair, so they get you with everything.
Yeah, and I didn't, every airline has their little quirks, and if you don't pay for it in advance, you have to pay at the airport, and it's $17.50 per kilo. Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, so they got me. So that kind of helped me as I continued moving to keep getting rid of things and getting rid of things and getting rid of things until I finally got back down to 1 bag. But same thing, that backpack that I had, I didn't know what I was buying when I bought it. And so I think I even had a large, and it was about 65, but it was the large frame. And when I finally went to REI and got fitted for my Osprey, I'm actually almost an extra small. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So I definitely have learned to become, I might not be a packing ninja, but I've learned what works for me and condensing down, and you really only need a couple things. Because like you said, and that's one of my mottos, if you need it, buy it when you get there, because carting it around is not good on your body, and it's sometimes horrible on your wallet. Oh
yeah, no kidding. And really, when you're talking about buying something overseas, it's really never going to be that much. It's probably going to be less one time than what you would pay to pack or to check an extra bag on a plane, for example. And you can get things everywhere. I think a lot of people are afraid that they're not going to be able to find things. And so they bring backups, and they bring backups for their backups. And that's just completely unnecessary. Don't you agree?
I 100% agree. I feel like there's what you want to have in life, and there's what you really need to have. And I think once you kind of ratchet it down to what you really need, like you said, you can find it. And I may not be a ninja at packing, but I'm a ninja at finding stores that have what I need and figuring out other languages to read what's on packages and in bottles and things like that. Because I think everything I own right now has been bought overseas, and not much is actually from the U.S. anymore.
Yeah. When you can't read any of the labels, you're not sure what things are anymore. No. Yeah,
I'm really good at miming out things to ask people, is this really conditioner, or is it make my hair fall out? Which one is this? Yeah. I finally figured out how to mime everything I really need.
That's so funny. When I was the first time that I ever moved to Italy when I was 20, my roommate and I realized 2 months in that we this is really embarrassing. I shouldn't be saying this out loud, but we'd been washing our clothes with fabric softener the whole time. Which is just funny because it's something we didn't even really we didn't even really think about it. It was just a carton that we grabbed off the shelf, and we never paid attention to it. And I don't even remember what it was that made us realize it, but that was just funny. But that's precisely kind of your point, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like you said, you just gotta laugh it off when you make a fool of yourself, and when silly things happen, and when you buy something that you should not be buying. I mean, it is what it is.
It is, and you learn, and you live and you learn. So as you were getting rid of things, what did you do? Did you actually just kind of get rid of them on your travels? Did you just give them away? Did you leave them behind, or did you actually send some stuff home?
Most of it I would leave behind. I'm kind of a thrifty type person in that I'll use something until it's not really usable anymore. Mm-hmm. So if I had to replace a shirt, it's because the shirt was pretty ratty-tatty, or someone stole it. That happens every now and then. But in general, yeah, most of the time I would leave it behind. If it was something Actually, so when I left Cambodia, when I lived in Taiwan for a while, then I lived in Cambodia for a lot longer teaching. And then when I left there and started my life as a nomad, I still had quite a bit of clothing and I donated it to the villages out there.
Perfect.
So if there's things that are still usable, I'll usually donate them. But in general, if it's with me, it's necessary. I don't really send a whole lot home. Every now and then I'll pick up souvenirs, but then that's if I know I'm heading home soon, so I just carry it with me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, and I'm kind of changing subjects here, but as you were traveling and maybe after actually, that's a good question. What did you do after your year was over in Taiwan?
Well, it was actually only about 3 months in Taiwan, and the situation there just wasn't the best. So that's why I went back to Cambodia. So I finished out my year in Cambodia teaching. And then I was originally going to teach somewhere else. And so I went to Europe after I left Asia, and I was just traveling around a little bit. And then I stumbled on the whole travel blogging thing, and I was convinced to go to the TBEX in Athens last year. And that made me realize that there were other avenues where I didn't have to stay stationary and work a job. It was possible for me to continue moving like I really wanted to and still have income. So that was the kind of jumping off point from I'm traveling around until I find a job to I'm traveling around and making my own job.
How long did it take you to start making money?
I started freelancing probably 2 or 3 months into traveling because I had been researching every single thing possible, trying to figure out what was available.
Okay.
And so I started freelancing, freelance writing for different travel websites and things like that.
What travel websites?
It's through a couple different ones. So I have actually I guess he's considered my manager. And so he sends me my assignments and then he puts them out on different websites. So to be honest, I actually don't know which websites that he puts them out on. I found him through a travel blogging forum on Facebook.
Interesting. Okay. That's awesome. Talk about being resourceful. I mean, this is kind of how it happens for a lot of long-term travelers. They turn into travel bloggers just the way that you have. So, but it's kind of a dream, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is. And I'm working on continuing that dream so that I'm making money specifically through like my efforts. So, my own writing on my website and creating videos and things like that. So it definitely takes time, but everyone definitely does it differently, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And what is your website?
It's Adrian's Travel Tales.
Okay, I'm going to link to that on the show notes page as well. Okay, I'm already realizing that I'm probably going to have you come back to talk about female travel because that's another thing that you've done is you've been alone this whole time, right? Yeah. I bet you have quite a bit to say about that.
I definitely do. Right now I'm at 5 continents traveling solo and I'm hoping to make it to all 7 by the time I'm 30. So I've got, 7 continents hopefully soon worth of recommendations and information about traveling as a woman.
Oh my goodness. And when is your birthday?
March 10th.
Okay. So you have like almost a year.
Yep. Almost a year.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. That's awesome. That's a good goal. I like it.
Yep. I'm in the process of trying to plan all that out. So almost there.
Yeah. So on this trip of yours, did you always, I just have this question, did you keep a budget to get a flight home with, or were you considering that, or was that, something that you planned?
That when I first got abroad, when I first moved to Asia, that was my first goal was to save up enough so that I did have a flight home.
Okay.
And then the longer and longer I travel, the less and less I worry about that, to be honest. Just because home is where the shoes are.
Yeah.
And with social media, with Skype, with just the technology that's available now, it's it's a lot easier to stay in contact with home. So it's a lot less of a pull for me to come back here. As much as I love being here, and I'm going to be here for the summer, and it's a great time. I love the idea of one-way tickets and figuring it out once you get there, and not really worrying about what the next destination is, but just in appreciating where you are right now.
We are definitely kindred spirits. I love being here in the summer too, but come this fall, that's when I'm gonna be getting a one-way ticket as well. And there's something, I can't even say that without smiling.
I know, right?
Yeah. It's really exciting. And there's something else I think about this, about long-term traveling, about the idea of home that really changes, because when you are a long-term traveler, you don't have a home per se. And there's nothing saying that you need to go back there. I mean, if something happens and you decide, you know what, I need to go home and, work through this, or just go and be around people that I know and love or whatever, that's one thing. But when you're on the road and you're not so much worried about the next destination, things work out, and it just kind of prolongs the entire adventure, the entire experience, and it makes home feel less and less like home anyway, right?
Exactly. That's actually been something I've been not struggling with, but I've been coming to terms with, is that home is, for me, is very fluid, and home is definitely the people that I have in my life and, my family and friends. But as we were talking about earlier, I feel home when I'm in a new place. I feel home when I'm experiencing new things, and that constant change, that's what feels like home to me now. So it's definitely travel has altered how I just in general perceive the world and my place in it.
I love it. I think you said that really well. So one last question. Do you have any advice for people who may be considering long-term travel? What would you say to them?
I would say that nothing is permanent, and if you try something and it doesn't work out, you can go back or you can try something new. So I think the biggest thing that stops people from trying long-term travel is they're afraid that they're not going to like it. And if they don't, that's okay. They can go back, they can do something else. Nothing is permanent. So it's okay to try something and it not work out, because what happens if it does? What happens if, you do try it and it's amazing and you're never going to regret trying it? So I just say, nothing is permanent, and you can always try things again. And the possible repercussions and the benefits that you'll get from at least just trying it are going to outweigh anything else that negative might happen.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing with us. I really do think you're going to be hearing from me again in the future.
All right, Jackie. I would love to come and chat with you again. This is
awesome.
Really-
and where am I going to see you next?
I have no idea. We might have to talk about that. I don't think I'm going to be going to any of the conferences anytime soon. So my next hops are down to South America. So. Oh,
mine too. When are you going?
Still working on that. Maybe October, November, December, somewhere around in there.
Okay. Well, let me know. I'm going to be in Chile in September, October. So.
All right. We'll definitely chat soon.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll chat soon. And thanks again.
Of course. Thanks, Jackie.
All right. Well, there you have it with Adrienne. Thanks again to Adrienne for coming on and sharing. I loved all that talk about packing and preparations and steps. I find that the more just practical things we can talk about, the more helpful it is. So I hope that you guys found that helpful. I'm going to be including some notes from today's interview on the show notes page, which you're going to be able to find, as always, at thebudgetmindedtraveler.com/50. So don't forget about that if you want to recap anything that we talked about today. And there will be links to Adrienne's site and to that program that she was mentioning as well. And you also heard me say that I'm going to be taking off here for some long-term traveling. And yes, that is true. I am getting a one-way ticket to Chile at the end of September. I'm starting there. I'm going to be doing a trek through the Torres del Paine National Park down in Patagonia and attending a conference in Puerto Varas, which is down in the south of Chile, kind of south central, and going from there. And at this point, I don't know what all that is going to entail, but I'm really excited to start my own long-term journey. Again, it's been a long time since I've done this. And so you guys are going to get to go with me on that. Make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter so that you can keep up with where I am, and follow me on Facebook. Come join the Facebook group, the BMT Community Facebook group, if you're not already there, so that you can get in on the conversation. And that's it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back next week with Mr. Gary Arndt, the one and only. If you guys know who he is, he's one of the most famous, travel bloggers, but photographers, that there are really. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you next week, and I'll see you then. Have a great week.